All right. So, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see, glad to see everyone made it this morning, and everyone, I'm sure, is super excited to learn how to find seller leads. All right. So, before we get started, I want to hear from you guys. Tell me, what are you excited about so far? Tell me some things. Tell me something good. What are you excited about? What opportunities do you see? Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see, glad to see everyone. All right, hello.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, what just happened? Yeah, so tell me something. Well, tell me something good. What are you guys excited about today?
Today I feel more empowered than yesterday. I took the time to just to learn a little bit more because like navigating through command and learning MLS. So forgive me. I learned yesterday that MLS is exactly what realtors put in. So I'm thinking this is where everybody get the information from. No, it's what realtors put in. So I'm like, okay, so now I don't have to really focus too much on that, So that was like my wow, duh moment, aha or duh. And and practicing with Anna, I felt more comfortable with the role playing.
Good.
So I'm excited to put that in place today, and practice some more. I'm just excited just to get it going and to continue on this journey and learning.
Excellent. Yeah, you know what? Practicing, scripting, learning our scripts and role playing. That really is our job. Right, and that's one of our 20%. That's one of the biggest things of our job right now, is mastering what we're gonna say, when we have to say it. What are we gonna say? What are we gonna? How are we gonna respond to their objections? So I love the fact that you're role playing. Great job, Anna. Great job, Zelda, for doing that. Keep doing that, and I encourage everyone to make sure that they're practicing every single day. All right, because that's what makes you a true professional. All right. Awesome. Anything else? What opportunities do you guys see for yourself moving forward so far?
Well, I can share something.
Yeah, absolutely.
With you guys. I've been reaching out to a lot of my sphere and also meeting new people on LinkedIn and going to Eventbrite events and all different kinds of things. And, and two things are happening. I'm picking up buyer leads from my sphere. And the other thing that's happening is all the people that I'm meeting on LinkedIn, I met two people that had their house up for sale and the deals fell through. And what was, I don't want to say nice about it because it wasn't nice, they reached out to me to have a conversation. So I felt like I could help them emotionally. So who knows what's going to happen with that too. So I just feel like the more that you guys are out there and reaching out and doing stuff, I think that when this turns around, we're going to have a lot of business. And because I have on my board now, I have so many more leads now that I didn't have probably 2 weeks ago. So for the ones that know people or don't know people, I would reach out to all these platforms and just join these groups and go on these Zoom. You're going to meet so many people. It's been incredible, by the way. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Okay.
Virtual networking events.
Yes.
Right. Yep. That's great. And you show yourself as, even if you enter one of those groups and you show yourself as the consummate professional in everything real estate, people aren't going to know that this is your first year. People aren't necessarily going to know that you're brand new in the industry. You go in there with confidence and say, I'm the real estate professional for this group, right? And people are going to organically just start coming to you. So that's great. Great job doing that, Lisa. And thank you for sharing that advice for everyone.
Right. That was pretty cool. I didn't think that option was out there, just virtual networking. Wow.
If you need, listen, if you need any help with that, call me. And
Okay.
also you can join Toastmasters on Zoom because I just started Toastmasters like 2 months ago. And the reason I did that was because of my fear. I'm doing things that scare the crap out of me. So, and Toastmasters scares the crap out of me, by the way. So what's cool about that is I'm meeting a lot of new people through there also. And of course they all know that I'm a realtor too. Now my goal for that was a little bit different because I want to learn how to
Speak in public.
speak better and stop saying like I always do, because I always say So, but there's a lot of things to actually learn out there too. So just saying.
No, I'm laughing because my son was listening to Ann and I role playing, and he just came out. He said, "You need to stop saying because those are fillers." And I'm looking at him like, "Shush."
That's funny. That's funny. Excellent. Excellent. Well, so you had an audience also. That's good.
Yes. Also, I wanted to add that yesterday, well, what I've noticed that when I walk my dog and I do get to shoot the breeze with some of the neighbors, I have been letting them know that I am a realtor now. And they were like, "Oh my God, I know someone." And so I've been giving them my my KW website or the app. And now I see them logging in, like signing up.
Excellent.
So I just need to know how to go in there and figure that out. But overall, I'm seeing that.
You know what I love? I love not carrying business cards with me. All right. And when I run into people and they tell me that, they ask, "Hey, can I get your card?" I just ran out of business cards. How about this? Give me your telephone number and I'll text you my contact information. That way you have everything. Or even if you have like a virtual business card, right? Even if it's a screenshot of your business card, what you're doing is actually getting their contact information. Because otherwise, I have a stack of business cards, right? I have a stack of business cards that just got lost in that business card shuffle. And I'll never look at half those business cards ever again, right? And if anyone's like me, they're going to lose my business card. All right. So I love to not have business cards on me and just say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I just fresh ran out. Give me your telephone number. I'll send you my information right now." All right. So you're getting their contact information. You're getting their telephone number rather than just being passively just giving them a business card. So I love that though. You're getting them on your database. You're getting them into your onto your website and using the app. So I love that. Excellent. Excellent. So can you guys, I'm trying to share my screen. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Perfect. All right. So remember, this is what successful agents do every day. They grow their business. They do the activities that's going to grow their business and activities that's going to run their business. And today we're going to be focusing on lead generating for buyers and sellers. Okay. Specifically lead generating for sellers. All right. We're going to teach you skills today that you're going to need to have, from having a contact in your sphere to setting a listing appointment.
Yes.
All right. Those are always the fun things, right? Getting listing appointments. All right. Let me ask you this before we go on. Why do you think seller listing appointments is, why do you think we push seller listing appointments so much rather than working necessarily with only buyers? What's important about taking seller listings?
It takes less time and buyers come to you. You attract buyers.
Two perfect answers, right? It definitely takes perfect answer, Anna. It takes less time. You can work with multiple sellers. You can work with 10, 15 sellers and still have a life, right? Whereas if you're working with 10 or 15 buyers, it's you're barely going to you're going to miss meals because you're running from showings to showings to showings and everything like that. Also, you said buyers come to you. What do you mean by that? Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, if you have a listing, then agents will naturally be interested in that. If we advertise properly, right? They will contact us for their buyers.
Okay.
More than one of them. So okay. We are not like looking for buyers; they come to us.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Also, and that's with other agents. But when you think about it, other agents can come to you as well. Other clients can come to you as well by, if you're having an open house, someone walks in, they don't have a realtor, that's a potential buyer for you. When you put a home on the MLS, it's going to be syndicated out to all these other websites, and you're going to get leads from places like Zillow, Realtor.com, anywhere else that you're posting your home. You're going to get people that's going to call you and say, hey, I saw that house that was listed for sale. Tell me about it. Or maybe you can set up a time to see it. You put a sign in the yard. Neighbors are going to drive past and say, hey, how much is that house? They're going to call you from that sign. One of the things that that I always do for my seller listings is, when I take a new listing, I knock on the doors in the neighborhood, just to let them know, hey, we just listed your neighbor's house. Who do you know that wants to move into this neighborhood? You live here. You obviously like it here. Maybe you know someone else that wants to come here as well. By the way, have you ever thought about how much equity you have in the house? So I'm potentially getting more buyers and more sellers just by marketing my seller listing. Right? It's highly leverageable. Having a seller listing is highly leverageable. You can do a lot with that. Go ahead.
Can we leverage other agents' listings in neighborhoods that we want to list properties?
Yeah, actually you can. So within if I understand you correctly, that means, like, if I have a listing in Heron Bay, meaning you would go knock on doors and say, hey, we just advertised the listing in there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Within our brokerage, within Keller Williams Coral Springs, even if I don't personally have a listing in Heron Bay, and I see that you may have listed a home over there, right? It's our broker is the one that took that listing. So yeah, I have no problem going and say, hey, we just listed this house over your neighbor a couple doors down. We did that.
Good morning. Can I chime in on this topic?
Please.
I learned from Tara Carter on leveraging other people's listings. If you go and look on the MLS,
any broker advertise?
As long as you get their permission, you can go and preview properties and then ask that agent ahead of time, hey, do you mind if I post this on my social media, and go do virtual tours for other people's listings. It helps you build a social media presence. It shows the people that are following you that you're active and that you're busy and that you're serious and you know what's out there. So, a lot of the things that are posted on my page are deals that I'm working with other agents that aren't necessarily my listings, but I help them with them. So, and it's advertisement for them as well. So nobody's going to say no to that. It's free advertisement.
Yeah. And you think about that. You talk about building a social media presence. You can walk into any home, right? Any home that you're previewing, and break out your phone, start taking a video of, just saying things like, hey, I'm over here at this new listing that just hit the market at 123 Main Street. It's a 4-bedroom bathroom. It's not your listing, okay? And you're not saying it's your listing. You're saying that you're at a new home in Parkland, in Coral Springs. This is how much it is. Contact me for details. John Q. Public, they don't realize that that's not your specific listing, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that, Ray. I love that idea, right? You going out, you're showing your clients that, yeah, this is I'm active. This is what I'm doing, all right?
And what I learned from Tara, and I think I talked about this in one of our pro coaching meetings, was she wanted to get into luxury. So she started previewing luxury properties, and people saw that, and she got her first luxury deal having never, not having them before. So, yeah. Okay, that is all for me.
Absolutely. No, those are great points, but like I said, if you're going to advertise someone else's listing, you can definitely do that within the market center. Okay. If you're going to if you have someone else's who's not, you see a listing that you want to advertise for someone that's not in our brokerage, you definitely want to reach out to that person to get their permission to advertise. So you definitely want to get their written permission before, in order to advertise their listings. Okay. But yeah, no, Anna, you're absolutely right. Ray, you're absolutely right. You're building social media presence. You can handle multiple deals. You can handle multiple sellers at one time. It's highly leverageable, right? Plus, you control the market. You're actually taking market share. You're creating market share. When you take sellers, you're controlling that market. You're controlling the prices of the homes in the area by the way you list by the price that you list that home at. You're controlling that market. You're creating that market. Okay. There's so many different benefits of taking seller leads. Taking new seller listings. You definitely want to try to focus your business on that. I usually recommend that that agents go at least go listing heavy. MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, says you want to go have a focus on seller listings as well. I like to go between 60 to 70% seller listings. The reason why I don't go all seller listings is you figure if you go 80% seller listings, you're turning down half the businesses out there, half the buyer business, right? And you don't want to turn down business either, right? So I like a good 60 to 70% seller listings versus buyer side. And that's where I try to focus my business on. Okay. Mike, anything you want to chime in on why it's good to take seller listings?
Well, I brought a banana out, but the monkey's gone.
I was about to say monkeys.
Yeah, so John hit it on the head. And the reality is, if you're managing your seller listings properly, you'll get 40% of your buyers through there. So you don't have to necessarily run out and hunt for buyers. If you manage your listings properly, do open houses, return calls, sign calls, get the sign writers asking for more information, capture those leads, use your social media platforms to get leads captured, and then follow up with those people and convert those conversations into buyers. You don't have to get an outside buyer anywhere. But once you get busy and you're putting it on your social media, you will get buyers from the outside because they can see that you're active, you have a presence in the marketplace, and they're going to come to you. And if they didn't, you're still going to get your buyers through there. So 60-40 becomes relatively easy, assuming that you're managing your listings properly. Yep. So that's my piece on that.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Excellent. So what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about, understanding seller motivation, qualify and convert seller leads into appointments. Probably one of the most important things is pre-qualifying your sellers. Just like you're going to pre-qualify your buyers, you're not going to put a buyer into your car unless you know that they're ready, willing, and able to purchase a home. It's the same thing when you want to pre-qualify your sellers to make sure that they're ready, willing, and able to sell their home. Okay, so you're going to have that conversation, know how to qualify and pre-qualify them. Then we're going to talk about the pre-listing questionnaire and a pre-listing presentation. Right. One of the things you'll see, some people use pre-listing presentations. Some don't. Some use a pre-listing packet. Some don't. I do most of the time, not all the time. Okay, and we'll kind of talk about what that pre-listing package looks like. Good thing about pre-listing package is it kind of sells yourself before you get there to sell yourself. Okay, it's the sneak peek of what you do. So hopefully when you get there, if your pre-listing presentation was good enough, they're hiring you before they've already made up their mind before you even walk in the door in a listing presentation. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. However, before we even start working with sellers, we need to learn how to find seller leads. Okay, where do you get these seller leads from? Okay, so before we go on, let's talk about the do not call list. Remember, if you're calling for sale by owners, you're calling expireds. Anna, I just realized that I didn't send out the expired list to you. I owe you expired lists from this week, so I still got those for you. But if you're calling people out of the blue, expired listings, you want to make sure you scrub it against a do not call list. Okay. The market center's official policy is do not call the people on the do not call list. All right. Honor their requests. If it's a for sale by owner who you got their information because they posted it on Zillow and they put their telephone number up there, they're selling their home. They're saying, hey, call me. That's fine. Give them a call. Okay. If you do call numbers that's on the do not call list, if you do, just know that you're taking a risk. If of someone reporting you to the Federal Trade Commission or the FCC or whoever it is that monitors this. Just know, like I said, our official policy is do not call the numbers on the do not call list. For those in pro coaching, when we send out the expired list, the expired and for sale by owner list, those numbers have already been scrubbed against the do not call list, and it'll have the telephone number and say DNC next to it. Okay, and all those other numbers are free to call.
John?
Yes.
Excuse me, I interrupt quickly.
Okay.
As a member of Pro Coaching, we have those for sale by owner, and if it is do not call, you said that we can call them because normally they advertise on Zillow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So all of them we can call despite DNC.
Yeah.
I understood you correctly? Okay.
So yeah, remember, for sale by owners, they've already put that information out there saying, hey, call me because I want to sell my house.
Okay.
Okay. Expireds, they may have already put their number on the do not call list. Okay. Really, if you're calling your sphere of influence, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're calling someone in your sphere of influence and they tell you, hey, Anna, don't call me because I'm on the do not call list, that's not good. Right? If your friends are telling you that. I'm going to try that one day. Just tell someone, you're on my do not call list.
I think Anna's question was, it on the for sale by owner list that you gave us, the ones that do say DNC, does she disregard that? I think that's what she was asking. Because I think even if it's a for sale by owner, even if it's still DNC, like, isn't that still a liability?
Mike, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts?
That's exactly what I asked. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so give you the same answer that I always give when I ask this. They're advertising to you. They're putting their phone number on the internet, saying "call me." They're fair game. Go for it. No worries there. If they don't want that phone number called, don't put it on a national website. So that kind of disqualifies them from that list. Once they do that, fair game.
Thank you for
play ball.
That's how I feel about it as well. If especially for sale by owners, they're putting it out there saying, hey, I want you to call me because I want this house sold. Okay.
Hey, can I just chime in here real quick?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I've never had a for sale by owner tell me that they're on a do not call, but I've had expired say that.
Right.
If that helps any.
Yeah.
And if an expired says that to you and your quick line is, wow, sorry about that. I'm sure I would go ahead and get your number out of my system and hang up the phone. Don't even wait for a response. Another thing is, so how do I say this correctly? Some people call do not call numbers. Those people that do that and decide to take that risk, those people shouldn't leave messages on the do not call list. Just think about that. It's like you're at the scene of a crime and you're leaving your driver's license there. So yeah, don't leave clues. Those people shouldn't anyways. So those people that decide to call those numbers anyways, make sure you don't leave your calling card, leaving voicemails and so on. Those people shouldn't do that. And you take it, you take your chances, because if somebody really wants to be a pit bull and go hard on you, I wouldn't say like, oh, first time's just a slap on the wrist and they kind of give you a warning, because they can do whatever they want. And you're talking about $8,000 to $10,000 fine if somebody's really hard up to get you. That being said, they're probably getting 100 calls on their do not call phone number during that time. So those people that do that, just beware.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So honor the do not call list. You know, that's why we focus in bolds right now. That's why we're focusing in the new Ignite and Spark. We're saying let's go towards permission-based prospecting. People that we're contacting have already pretty much given us permission to contact them. So your sphere of influence, people like that, people that's not on the do not call list. But like Mike said, if you do choose to make those calls, just know that you're taking a risk. All right, that's our update on the do not call list. All right. So where do we find some seller leads from? All right, what are some places that you think we could find seller leads?
John DiMartino's email.
John DiMartino's email. Yeah, that's a great place because there's like 300 leads there, right? Just from my email each week. So absolutely. So what are some other places we could find seller leads?
Open houses.
Open houses. I love that because every person that walks into an open house is a potential buyer and a potential seller. Okay. So especially if you're doing an open house in a price point where there's a step up home buyer, right? If you're if you're doing an open house in a $400,000 property, you might have people over there that has a townhouse that's going for $250,000, $200,000 that they want to sell so that they can move into that single family home. So yeah, they're a seller, they're a buyer and a seller. I love that. Where else?
Past clients.
I'm sorry?
Past clients.
Past clients, absolutely. You know, your past clients, you know, especially if it was a great transaction, they're going to refer you to other people. And I have one of my clients who I've sold his house twice already in the last 5 years. I don't know if he just really likes me or he just likes moving every couple of years, right? But he sold a house. I helped purchase a house with him. I stayed in touch with him, and he sold his house again 2 years later. And he just reached out to me about 2-3 weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, can you put together another CMA for me?" So I'm just like, okay, as long as he's keep coming back to me, I'll keep selling his house and helping him buy something else. So past clients is perfect.
Actually, our whole database, if we take care of them properly and regularly as we should, eventually they'll give us leads, no?
Absolutely. In fact, your database is the number one place where you can get more leads from.
Especially now when we take care of them, they'll never forget it. Who does that?
Yeah, absolutely. So your database, when you're talking to people, whether you're talking to them, even just making care calls, any of those touches, by putting them into the database and having them check on the neighborhood nurtures, they're getting those emails every month of what's going on in their neighborhood. And one day, you don't know everybody's situation. One day they might turn around, they're having dinner with their wife or their husband, and they turn around and say, "Hey, I just saw Anna's email. She's saying our house might be valued around $420,000. I think this is the time to get ready to sell." So I love making sure we're speaking to to our database. All right. Doing the daily 10-4, making those telephone calls, making those 10 contacts a day, just constantly reaching out, doing those activities to reach out to people, previewing homes. You're going to run into people. You're going to see people. You're going to meet people. Those are other great opportunities to find seller leads. Alan mentioned open houses. It's a great opportunity to find buyers and sellers. All right, and referrals. That's one of my favorite words. I love when someone says, "Hey, are you taking new business? I have a referral for you." Awesome, I love this. All right. So, and I know Mike spoke about open houses yesterday and some questions that you can ask in order to find out if they're a buyer and a seller. To get more information. One of the things that Family Reunion Gary Keller spoke about. One of the things I really love that he said was, we're salespeople, whether we like the word or not. We're salespeople, all right? We're in the business of sales. We're not order takers. Right? And when he said that, first thing I thought about was the guy flipping burgers at McDonald's. Okay, you go to McDonald's and you say, or you go to a restaurant, or you go to wherever, and you put in a certain order. You give them exactly what they want. We're not order takers, though, right? We need to go out and find new business. We need to sell things. We need to put ourselves in a position where we're giving the most amount of value to everyone, not just taking orders from other people. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes total sense. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You, John, and you, Michael, mentioned open houses. And yesterday, Michael gave us a little bit of a script. You were actually role-playing. Where do we find those scripts? I would really love to learn it. Is there, what you guys were saying, is that written anywhere? So we can learn it too? It was awesome. It was incredible.
Yeah, I think it just comes with practice and just asking questions, right? You didn't like that answer. You want a written script, right?
Would be awesome, so we can learn too. But
yeah, no, and honestly, it's just about asking more questions. It really is. And if you heard Mike yesterday, Mike is really good at asking questions and asking questions to make the listener start to think about what's actually being said, right? And what he's doing when he's asking those questions is he's looking for clues of where can he jump in and how can he provide value. All right. So it goes back down to asking questions about their motivation, asking questions about what they can do, how you can help them, and so forth. One of the things we're going to go over today is actually looking at some questions you can possibly ask. Okay. Just remember that you should be doing more. You should be doing more listening, and the other person should be doing all the talking. All right.
That's right, but you need to know how to direct the conversation, and this is what you guys do.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah, no.
Does that come with experience?
Kind of. It comes with, more experience. I'm gonna say it comes with practice. Okay.
It's all practice.
It comes with practice. Amazing. Hey, Mike, do you remember in Bold one of the, and this might be a good opportunity to do this in a few minutes, but there's in Bold they used to do the question game. Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely, and it wasn't in every single Bold. I think it was in couple Bolds back. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, it was a little while ago. And what you did, and this might be good with Brazil.
Oh yeah, going around the table. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just you guys when you're doing your role play. One person just asks. I can't speak today. Asks a question, and the other person, rather than giving it an answer, hit him back with another question, and then Anna make another question, and then Brazil make another question, and just go back and forth, just asking questions.
It had to be attached to the same conversation, and everything had to end with a question mark.
Yeah, and you're gonna get.
And if it wasn't attached, you're out.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to get better at asking questions, asking good questions. Okay. If I'm asking a question and I see that ball started bouncing away and it's going somewhere else, I'm going to ask a new question to take back control of that conversation. All right. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. All right. That's something from Shift. That's something in MRAA. That's something that they talk about in Bold. Ask good questions. You're going to control the conversation. All right. So we'll practice actually making some of those, asking some of those questions in a few minutes. Actually, it's going to be coming up pretty soon, actually. Actually, it's in the next slide. So we're going to talk about generating leads, which is connecting, pre-qualifying, converting your seller leads into listing appointments. Like I said, always be, have your little antennas tuned into looking for a potential seller opportunity. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect with them. That's by making those telephone calls, reaching out to them. We're going to connect with them so we can be their real estate agent of choice. We're going to understand how ready they are. And this is going to be the part of the pre-qualifying so that we'll understand, so we can categorize them to find out, are they an A, B, or C seller? And then once we think someone's willing to sell, we're going to pre-qualify them to make sure they're ready to do business right now. And then if they are ready, willing, and able to sell, then we're going to go out and secure that listing appointment. And we're going to go out there and get that piece of business. All right. Each step is important so that you follow up with leads that aren't, hold on a second, this doesn't make sense. Okay, each step is important so that you're only following up with the leads that are people that are ready, willing, and able. All right. I've gone out on listing presentations before, and over time, I'm sure you guys will also, where I'm sitting down thinking it's a listing presentation and find out that it's not really a listing presentation. All right, I'm thinking that I'm ready to sell their house and they're just trying to test their waters to kind of see what would I do in the event that one day they do decide to sell. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, oh my God, I just wasted an hour and a half of my life. And I could have gotten that hour, I could have saved that hour and a half of my life by asking better pre-qualifying questions from the very beginning. Because now I just ended up going and wasting time. I could have answered all their questions over a telephone call versus driving over to their home and thinking it's a listing presentation when it really wasn't a listing presentation. Does that make sense? All right. I mean, in fact, has anyone else ever experienced that where you go on a listing presentation or something like that where you think that you're, trying to sell yourself and then realize that that's not actually happening right now? Has anyone else ever experienced that?
Oh yeah. Not too long ago, actually.
Really? What was that like? Tell me about that.
Oh, it was awkward. They're people that I've known for a while. And they've been talking about selling their house forever. And then finally I'm like, okay, it's go time. They're like, yes, I'd like to meet with you. I met them at their place of business because, it was just the best time for them, I guess, at the moment. They're business owners. And went in there with a whole entire listing presentation. And they were just asking, it was more of a social hour, and I'm trying to, keep everything like online and, let's follow this. And yeah, I ended up wasting my time. I mean, granted, I'm building rapport with these people, but I still don't have the listing agreement. So.
Yeah. That's happened to me before also. I'm thinking here, I have my folder, I have my presentation, I'm ready to go. And then find out that, yeah, it's just social hour, or they just wanted to see what I do or see how I could help people. And it's great.
Like it's pretty much what
connection.
It was. Yeah.
It's a connection. It's a contact. You're showing value, which is great. However, you went in there thinking it was a listing presentation. Let me ask you this, Ray, if you'd have asked better questions in the very beginning, do you think you could have found out that wasn't necessarily going to be a listing presentation?
Absolutely. And I feel like I wish I would have navigated the appointment better in a sense where I made sure that this appointment was at the house, not, where they could be distracted. And I was trying to be accommodating to them. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if we were actually in the house, it would have helped us, like I said, navigate the conversation to more of a listing presentation versus a social hour.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Has anyone else ever had the opposite happen to them, where they think they're going for a social hour and it turns out to be a listing presentation? No, that happened to me once. All right. That happened to me once. I had a past client that was interested in, hey, they said, John, there's a house up the road. We're not thinking about doing anything right now, but there's a house up the road that we'd like to go ahead and see. Can we go take a look? Because it might be similar to mine. So we went out and showed them this property. Afterwards, he's like, hey, come to the house for a cup of coffee or something like that. Went back to his house. And then him and his wife sit me down at the kitchen table and they're like, okay, so we're interested in selling right now. Talk to me. How can we make this happen? I went there completely unprepared because I didn't know it was going to be a listing presentation. However, when I would have, and I ended up getting the listing because I knew my listing presentation, but it was probably one of my worst listing presentations because I wasn't prepared for it. I knew what I had to say. I just wasn't prepared for it. Okay. That's why it's also important to make sure you know your listing presentation in and out. So that way, if that ever does happen where you can just jump in and make that happen. However, I believe, just like Ray experienced, if I would have asked the right questions from the very beginning, I would have known that if they liked that one house up the road, that they were ready to sell their house right then and there. All right. So ask better questions. One of the questions I love asking when I'm doing my pre-qualifying calls is, if your home is to sell within 30 days, would that be a problem? If when we meet and we list your house and it's under contract within 30 days, if I can sell your home in 30 days, would that be a problem? What I like about that is I'm going to find out how motivated they are. What's their sense of urgency? If they say, no, that's not going to be a problem at all, great. I know these people are ready to do something now. If they turn around and say, oh, I can't sell my house in 30 days. I still have to apply for a new job over in Phoenix, and I still have to do this, and I still have to do that, and I can't do anything until the kids get out of school. And okay, so now I know what I'm walking into on that situation as well. Another question I like to ask is, what happens if your house doesn't sell? What happens if your house doesn't sell in the next couple months? All right. I'm going to get a better idea of their level of motivation when they turn around and say, no, that cannot happen. Our house has to sell within the next 30 to 60 days. Just by asking those two questions, I'm going to find out where they are on that spectrum and where they are in that continuum, where they are, how ready, willing, and able are they to sell their house right now.
I'd like to ask something about that question. Not that I would be doubting you. It's just, maybe it's my drunken monkey. When we ask them, what happens if your house just doesn't sell within, like, in half a year, right? Does that not put in their mind doubt that we are not a good agent because we cannot sell their house?
You're not, unless you're buying the house. Let me tell you something. There's nothing that you could do in order to sell a house. All right. There's nothing that you could do to make someone buy a house.
You can price it correctly, no?
Right. And it goes back down to the pricing and seeing how aggressive that they are willing to go on the pricing to achieve their goal. All right. I have no problem with asking them, because if they tell me, if I say, hey, how come, what happens if your house doesn't sell in 60 to 90 days? They say, no, that's not going to happen. I need to be in Atlanta by June. I don't have 90 days to play around. When we're having the pricing conversation, if they want to price their home way over market value, I'm going to say, I thought you needed to get to Atlanta by June. Pricing at your house over here is not going to make that goal happen. That's not going to help that. All right. So, and all you're doing is just asking questions. All right. So, and Anna, this is like something that the slide that's up right now has some samples of some questions that you can ask. All right. In order to find out more about them. And these are things that, like Mike was asking. Okay. On the right side, you see where it says who, what, where, why, when, and how. That is, we want to ask questions. We want to ask questions that's going to answer those questions. Who, what, where, why, when, and how, so that we can know what their needs are. We can understand what they want and what their needs are. So get details to add to your database. That's the who. So finding out that's the forward conversation, asking about their family, occupation, recreation, dreams. If you would, please tell me a little about your family. Tell me about your job. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your fill in the blank, whatever. Okay, those are questions to add to your database. Find out what, this is assessing their wants, needs, and plans. So what are you looking for? What do you want to do? What do you want to see happen? What has to happen right now? Asking where, pinpoint their location. Where would you like to buy a home? Or where is your home located? But ask some specific questions about where. When we were talking, doing the role play yesterday, Anna, Mike asked, hey, if I can get your home sold, where do you want to go? All right. He was asking all these questions. Determine their motivation. Why are you moving? Never underestimate how powerful that question of why. Asking them why. Asking what will that do for them and their family? Why are you moving? Why do you want to sell? Why do you have to sell? Why is selling it for $420,000 important to you? Why? You're going to find out their motivation. by asking the why questions. Get a feeling for their timeline. So when would you like to do this? What happens if your house sells within 30 days? What happens if it doesn't sell within 60 days? You're asking the when questions. Assess their expectations. How do you plan on doing this? Okay, when you're talking to a for sale by owner, one of the best questions I love to ask a for sale by owner is how are you marketing your home? Tell me all the hundreds of things that you're doing to market your home as a professional agent like myself would do. They're going to say, well, I posted it on Zillow and I put a sign in the yard. Great. So that's 2 things. What are the other 90 some odd things that you're doing? No, that's it. Okay. All right. You're planting that seed also. But learn to ask powerful questions. And those powerful questions, those are going to be the who, what, where, why, when, and how. You're going to find out their motivation. You're going to find out if they're ready. You're going to find out if they're willing. You're going to find out if they're able. All right. These questions are going to help build rapport. They're going to help build trust with that lead. Plus, you're getting information. All right. You're getting all the information from them. All right. So these are just a couple quick examples of some of the connecting questions that we can ask. I want to hear from you guys. What are some other questions that you think we can ask seller leads that can help either connect with them or understand their motivation and urgency? What are some other questions you think we can ask?
Like for sale by owner leads, I would also ask I guess I would probably ask, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the greatest, 1 being the least, what will motivate you, or what would be the incentive that you need for you to list with me so that I can sell for you?
Okay. Okay. What's another way you can ask that question?
Or I can represent for you, or I can list for you.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell?
On a scale of 1 to 10,
10 being the highest, how motivated are you to sell?
You
They say
can
8.
ask.
They say 8, maybe. Okay, what can I do, or what's it gonna take for you to be a 10?
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Or what if I could put more money in your pocket than you can?
Yeah. Yep. I love that. I love that. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I want you out of my house, 10 being I'm ready to sign right now, where do you see yourself? A 7. Well, what would it take to make it a 10? Just like Nick said, what will it take to make it a 10? If I'm on a listing presentation and I see that I'm not getting this piece of business for whatever reason, or they're not signing, or they're very hesitant about signing, instead of saying what incentive do you want, Griselda, I might just straight up ask, what needs to happen in order for me to earn your business, or what do I need to do to earn your business? They might turn
if you're
around
talking to,
tell you the answer.
Yeah, if you're talking to a for sale by owner, another great question is so tell me what's more important to you, netting the most money or selling this house on your own?
I like that. And what did Eddie said? Said again, Eddie?
If I could put more money in your pocket, if I could prove to you that I could get you more money than you can.
Another question is, what's important about that to you? Almost every question that I ask, the follow-up question is, what's important about that? Well, I want to move to Chicago. Great. What's important about that? Why Chicago?
Yeah, and be careful with when they give you their location. Don't jump in with, oh wow, awesome, it's California. It may not be awesome, right? It may be that they're going to take care of somebody or whatever. So the first question is, oh, California, what's in California? Right? And let them explain to you what it is. And if it's awesome, and if that's great, great. And if it's, I'm going to take care of my family, wow, that's really thoughtful of you. So you want to connect with their reason, their motivation, and understand what it is before you, yay, that's great, because it may not be great.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. Yes.
And I want to sell my house for $400,000.
We're getting a little sketchy on the connection, John. Is everybody getting that, or is it just me?
I hear him good.
I am good.
Okay, good.
Perfectly.
Those limpkins are messing with your internet connection, Mike. The monkeys, they got to your internet connection.
That's it. I got to get more bananas.
Yeah, there you go. But when they ask questions like when you ask a question like how much do you want to net in your house, and they say I want to net $300,000, and I like to say what's important about $300,000. The next question I like to follow up with, because remember you always want to ask questions and then go 3 deep. All right, is what will that do for you and your family? What's important about netting $300,000, and what would that do for you and your family? How would that help you to achieve your goals?
How about how did you come up with that price?
How did you come up with that price? Man, remember, guys, it's all about asking questions. You can judge the power. You can judge the strength of the question by the length of the pause before they answer. If you're asking a question that's going to make them think, you asked a great question. So when you're doing your scripts, when you're doing your role play, in fact, anyone that's role playing for the next couple of days, practice just asking questions. Anyone who has little kids know that they like to ask questions all day long, right? Everything's a question. Question. Stop asking me questions. All right. So
But why?
but why? Yeah, exactly. So if you have little kids, practice with them, play it with them. They ask you questions, ask them questions right back. All right. And learn to ask better questions.
And these questions show that you care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these questions show that you care because they're all about them and they're not about you. And what other agents will do is they'll go ahead and just tell them everything that they think they need to know, regardless if it's really about them, because it's only about that agent and it's not about the seller. So my thoughts are, I like to start with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about them and their final goal. So the questions that I'm asking don't feel intrusive because they're ultimately helping them to get to their end goal.
What about when you ask them the question like, how do you come up with that price? And they say, oh, because my neighbor sold the house for the price. What do you say after?
Yeah, Mike, you want to take that question?
Yeah, sure. So, excuse me. What's your neighbor's address? Because at this point, you're at a listing presentation. You already know what the comps are of the property that's sold around them. You've actually come to this presentation with those recently closed sales. So now you can literally put them side by side and say, yeah, that's why I recommend that you either sell at this price, or I'm looking at this home and I'm looking at that home, and here's what I see. This one has a pool, it's updated. If there's a price discrepancy, or you may be pricing their home higher because that house did sell for that price, but it wasn't as updated as their home. So this is an easy question once you've done your research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One of the questions I love to do, especially if I know that I am going to be meeting with someone on a listing presentation, I like to ask them before I even do my CMA or anything like that, is I ask them, how much do you think your house is worth? All right. How much?
This is the pre-list. It's a pre-list conversation with a soft close attached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How much?
And John and Mike, one of the reasons they are coming up with that price also is always because that house is always better than theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone.
Yeah, you're exactly correct, Eddie.
Yeah. But if they tell me that they think their house is valued at $400,000, and then my CMA and all my research is saying it's only valued at about $350,000, I know what I'm walking into going on that appointment. So I have to make sure I bring extra. I have to do my extra homework to make sure that I can show them why their home is valued at $350,000 and not $400,000 like they think. Okay. Or conversely, if they say they think their house is worth 350, and then I see 400, they're going to be pleasantly surprised. Okay, but it's good to know what you're walking into when you're going there.
Those pre-listing questions you just mentioned, that is, these are questions we asked them the day before. Is that correct? Just
Yep.
making sure. Okay.
Yep. That's a pre-listing question that you asked the day before when you're calling to confirm that appointment. Mm-hmm. Another question I like to always ask is two other questions I like to ask is, one, will all the decision makers be there? Because if you're only speaking to the husband and the wife is at work, you know how that's going to end. He's going to say, I need to speak to my wife. Right?
And that's a condition. That's not something, an objection you can overcome right there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is to always throw in a soft close. So you're asking questions that are like, okay, so here's what I see on BCPA, and I always know that not everything is correct. Is your home back up to a road? Do you have a pool? So how many square feet? I know it says this here, but how many square feet? Now, the owners will know this or they won't, but most of them do know what their square footage of their home. You're going to ask simple questions like that to just make sure. Is there any updates that I should know about you, Don? This way I can compare this as I'm doing my research. So you're leading down a path to ultimately get to, okay, great. So I'm ready to meet with you tomorrow. Just want to make sure everybody's going to be there, or you're going to be there, your wife's going to be there, or vice versa. And if you like everything that I say and you agree with me on the pricing of your home, are you ready to go ahead and sign the contract and put me to work tomorrow? So that's a soft close. And I don't care what they say. Oh no, we're going to have to think about this for a while. I'm still going, right? But I'm going to go ahead with a soft close. Now, what would be awesome is if you get there after you've already displayed some value and you see, a lot of times if you listen to the bold scripts by Diana Kokoska, here's what I'm going to need, and you sell them out, you actually already send them out a pre-listing form for them to understand what it is to mean to list their house, and that you'll need them to make a copy of the key. If you walk in there and there's a copy of the key sitting on the kitchen table, man, it's yours to take, right? It's just they're waiting for you. They've got everything ready. It tells you they're ready to list their home. If it's not there, no biggie. You're going to proceed as normal, but always soft close.
How about, are you interviewing any other brokers?
Oh yeah, that's definitely part of the script. And for the sake of time, we're not going to go through the whole script, but that is a great question. And Eddie, you're spot on. That you want to know if you're going to have any other competition. And Eddie, you know the answer to this already. So yeah, let's role play that. So I'm going to be interviewing 3 people. So what's my next question, Eddie?
And have you interviewed the 2 others already?
Exactly, because I want to know where I fall in that order, because I want to be last.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to know that, listen, I understand you're meeting with these other 2 people. Do me a favor, if you would, just make me one promise. You won't sign with any of those people until you speak to me and hear what I have to say.
And Mike,
ask them to make your promise.
I don't know about your MLS, but our MLS in New York would allow us that if I'm competing against John and Mike, then I could dissect John and Mike's production versus mine.
Yes.
Versus your office, my office, and show them apples and oranges.
Absolutely. We can look at each individual agent's production.
Yeah. That's excellent. So again, guys, it all boils back down to you want to find out someone's motivation. Are they ready? Are they willing? Are they able? Ask questions that's going to make it easier for you when you do meet with them, so you know what you're walking into. Okay. Mike asked that question. I love that. If I show you, if when we meet and you see that you like everything I have to say and we agree to a price that's gonna work for everybody, are you ready to put your house on the market tomorrow? If they say, yeah, great, this is someone who's ready right now, that's awesome. I love that urgency. But you know what you're walking into. All right. So remember, ask powerful questions. Ask powerful questions. I'm sorry, Eddie, say it again.
That's the best question.
Oh yeah.
If you feel confident in me and my company that we could get the job done, you like the price? Can we get started when I see it?
Yep, absolutely. It's a powerful question. It's a close. It's a soft close.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I love it. Learn and practice, guys, during your role play. Practice asking questions. All right. The only way we're going to get awesome at this is practicing. And the thing to get awesome at is asking great questions. All right.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing is like when they say when they talk about the Zillow estimate, you know, they say like, oh, but Zillow say that my house is worth this amount.
yeah, absolutely. And and then you just kind of explain how Zillow gets their numbers. Well, we know that one of the things Zillow does is they look at your home, find out your square footage, and then look at everything around that square footage within a mile of each other, and then they come up with an average. However, we know that's not always accurate because we know the neighborhood over here, your neighborhood might be completely different than the neighborhood directly across the street. Even if it's the same square footage, it's not an apples to apples comparison. Okay. That's just an estimate. It's not always too high. It's not always too low. It's just always wrong. That's what I usually tell.
I love that.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
always
love that
too high. It's
script.
not always too low. It's just always wrong. So when we meet,
and I love that.
yeah, when we meet, I'm going to give you a true valuation based on true comparable homes.
Yeah, and I could show them examples of the Zillow estimate that are still $20,000 below the price that I sold my properties, my seller's properties at. After they've been sold.
So where I live, I live out near Sawgrass Mills, and where I live, if you look on the Zestimate or even on Nextdoor.com, and even on our neighborhood nurtures, which is not exactly perfect, mine says that my home is worth about $230,000 because I have a bunch of condos that's not too far from my home. All right. Whereas when I do a CMA on my house, I know my home is worth closer to $400,000. So you're talking about $180,000 difference, right? It's not a true apples to apples comparison on those automatic valuations. And the only way to get a true valuation is by coming by your house and seeing what your home is, what your home looks like, and comparing it to true comparable properties. And I'm available tomorrow at 2 or at 4 o'clock. Be better. All right. So,
and John and Mike, isn't this also correct that the biggest database of sold homes comes from brokers?
Yeah, absolutely, and we have access to that.
What was the question? What was the question? I didn't hear.
The biggest source of database of sold homes comes from brokers.
Mm-hmm. That's the MLS. We can see
the MLS.
We can see everything that's happening in the MLS. All right. There's a couple homes that was sold in my neighborhood also that, and this is why I don't like IMAP or some of those other sites as well, because, or RPR, is there's some other homes that were sold in my neighborhood that was, it's not a true arm's length transaction. The owners sold their home to their kids, and they probably just sold it for the amount of money that's owed on the property, not what the house is actually valued at. So all the other homes in my neighborhood are going for $400,000. There's 2 homes in my neighborhood that are selling for less than 200, that have sold for less than 200. Right. So, Zillow is not taking factors like that into consideration.
I've heard that Zillow is not a reliable source by other realtors. Like either their listings are expired or that it's not a reliable source. In general.
No, I have a love-hate relationship with Zillow. Okay? I love to hate them. All right. I have a love-hate relationship with them. I love to hate Zillow. Especially it makes our jobs much more difficult because the client would say, "Hey, well, I saw on Zillow my home is worth this," or for a buyer, "Hey, I saw on Zillow that this house is, and I'd like to see this house." And then when I look in the MLS, I just have to go back and tell them that house sold 2 months ago. Right? It actually closed 2 months ago. It's not always, it's not very accurate.
So it's safe to tell like the clients, listen, Zillow is not accurate. It's not always up to par with their information. They're always behind on updating, and chances are that home that you fell in love with is sold?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying that. I actually tell my clients, don't bother with Zillow. All right, I'm going to give you my app. My app is more accurate, more updated.
Perfect.
Well, what about Zillow? Go to Zillow to find out if there's any open houses that's not for sale by owners. That's the only thing I would go on Zillow for.
But John, in the chat, I will put the information for one article that I found that
Okay.
it says, let me see, it says, Silos Spencer Raskoff leased Brentwood Park home for $7 million overestimate.
Yes.
I will put information there for everybody.
Yep.
It was in the realdeal.com.
Yep, that's right. So I remember seeing that one. It's also kind of like how the CEO of forsalebyowner.com, how he decided when he sold his house why he hired an agent. Why the owner, think about that. The owner of forsalebyowner.com didn't even sell his home by owner. He hired an agent. All right. So it's those same.
The irony.
Thing. What's that?
The irony.
It is. It's hilarious. You know, the CEO of Zillow's home was this estimate was way off, right? It's we're gonna ask powerful questions, and
well, wasn't that John? Wasn't that it was $100,000 too low, and that was why it didn't sell. When they raised the price, he actually was trying to sell his house under the market, and something just wasn't right, so it wasn't clicking, and it wound up that the agent got him $100,000 more for his home, if I understand that right.
It's funny when you hire professionals, you get professional results. When you try to do it on your own, I mean, I got a pair of pliers downstairs. All right, I have a pair of pliers downstairs. If I needed to have some dental work done, I'm not going to take that pliers and pull that tooth out, all right? Because I'm not doing it the right way. Whereas if I go to the dentist, he might take a pair of pliers, but he knows exactly what to do to pull that tooth if that's what needs to happen. I'm going to a professional, and then I'm gonna get much better results going to the professional and getting some dental work done than just taking the drill and just drilling in my own teeth.
No, we all understand the concept. And John tells a story about, you know, your air conditioner doesn't work in your house, so you call up an AC guy. He comes to the house. Now, we all know how important our AC is working in our house. So you call up the AC guy. He comes out there. You go on the side of the house with him. He looks at it. And he goes, okay, I see the problem. Takes a little hammer out of the side of his tool belt and gives it a little tap. And all of a sudden, your AC is working. And he says, okay, it'll be $100. You're like, wait a minute, just for the tap? No, it wasn't for the tap. It was about knowing where to hit it. That's where we come in. That's where our value is, about knowing what to do. Anybody can slap a home on Zillow. That's not going to get it sold. And we've proven that pretty regularly to about 85 to 90% of for sale by owners wind up listing with an agent within 60 days. And out of the 10% that don't, half of those have sold to a friend or family member. So 5% success rate. Would you like to go with a 5% success rate or a 90% success rate?
Yeah. And, you know, to get, you know, for Anna, Brizilda, and for Marisol, and really for anybody, but to answer your question about how do you make sure that you master these scripts and master these objections is by attending scripts and role play, by attending group coaching, by practicing. Okay. When you practice with each other, give each other real world objections. All right. And overcome those objections. All right. Work, you know, and during the role play, the agent is asking questions, and the role play client, give them 3 or 4 objections, real objections. All right. And then give them the appointment, then switch roles. Okay. Another thing you can do is, this is something that John Dietz did. He walked around with he had a little notebook, and what he would do is he would write down every objection that he received, and then he would write down 3 different objection handlers for every single objection that he had. All right. And by doing that, remember the other day I talked about the Bat utility belt. All right. And by having 3 handlers for every single objection, that's just more tools that's on our utility belt. That's just more tools that we can, in our arsenal, that we can pull out at any given time and respond to that. All right.
Hey, John.
Practice, 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 practice. Know your scripts. Yes, Rob.
It's a great point. On average, there are about 7 objections that are the most common objections out there. So if we memorize those 7 objections and how to answer each one of those objections very well, like you said, with 3 answers for each one,
right,
we should be able to get through many of these objections that are being thrown our way. So great.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Absolutely. You hear the same objections over and over and over, and you just have to know how to respond to those same objections in different ways, so that it's not sounding scripted, it's not sounding robotic, it's coming out as genuine. So the way to handle those objections is learn your scripts, know your value, attend group coaching, and practice. All right, that's the only way. To this day, when I'm going out on a listing appointment where I'm dealing with a unique situation, to this day, I'll still call Chalongo. I'll still call Mike and say, "Hey, Mike, this is what I'm going against. I need you to role play with me on this. Help me to overcome this. So I know that what I'm walking into before I walk in. I'm experienced. Mike has experience, and I'm still practicing."
I have a question then, because I was doing my call and I left a message and I got a text back. And the text says, "I don't have time to talk to all realtors. If you have a client that is qualified and wants to see this home, then we can talk. Otherwise, have a good day."
Okay.
How do I overcome that? And this is for sale by owner.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mike, do you want to take that one? Because I know you love your for sale by owners.
No, I love the fact that they responded. This tells me that this person is motivated. So, you got to look at these things differently, right?
Okay.
Change the way you look at things, and the things that you look at change. This person is motivated. They are feeling a hassle, but they're still asking, "Can I get a buyer?" Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so this is an opportunity for you to ask great questions. Don't answer that. Ask them better questions.
Okay.
Right? So let me ask
I'm glad
you.
I
in this
ignored the
current-
text for a second.
Yeah. So yeah, I get that, this is frustrating, especially in this market. Crazy, right? And what does a good buyer look like to you? If you have to do this in text, and I would urge you to take the opportunity to find out if there's a time that you can speak to this person. This is going to work out way better in person. And if it's just text, it's just text. The scripts don't change, right?
Mhm.
So tell me what's been going on. Have you been having some showings? How are you doing your showings? Are you taking advantage of the virtual tools that we are using as realtors?
Okay.
Ask questions, because they don't know. They don't know. Now you're going to be different than everybody else, right? Ask questions. Are you taking advantage of the virtual tools that we're using as realtors? Do you know what's going on in the market with homes that are still for sale, right? How can I help you? All right. And how many showings have you had? And how are you doing your showings? Right? Because it's a different world. And I know this process is frustrating. So you're going to go on their side. This sounds like an S person, because they're showing you that they've got frustration. Even through text, you can tell a couple of different things, but they're still motivated. Let me ask you, why are you selling? When do you need to sell by? We're going to go to why, when, how long. We're going to ask those questions.
How are you qualifying your buyers?
Excellent question.
How are you qualifying your buyers? Got it.
Yeah. In this market, we're only working with the most serious buyers. And, how can I get a better look at your home? Would you be willing to FaceTime with me and show me a little bit more of your home? Right? Because usually we have a virtual tour or Matterport or something like that. So just ask questions and get on their side with them. Don't be confrontational.
Okay.
But they're opening it up for a dialogue.
Okay.
Right? When's a good time for us to talk?
Okay.
One of the things I love saying is, especially with for sale by owners or expireds, once I start hearing frustration in their voice, that's exactly why we need to meet. I love saying that. That's exactly why we need to meet. All right.
The meeting right now is FaceTime, right? It's FaceTime or Zoom, but it still applies.
It still applies. That's exactly why we need to sit down and discuss what I do differently. You know, well, I'm not showing homes to anyone unless you bring me a buyer. Well, that's exactly why we need to meet, because I'd like to see your home. I'd like to see what your home looks like, so I can find which one of my buyers your home maybe work best for.
Perfect.
By the way, you know, when your home does sell, where are you going to move to? Chicago. What's in Chicago? So and so. That's exactly why we need to meet, so I can help you to achieve your goal and get you to Chicago to be with your family.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
and
glad-
everything still applies. All the scripts that you've been learning still apply, right? If you get down to, well, I got all these, like whatever objection, I got all these people, they want to see the house, but blah, blah, blah. Let me ask you, what does a good buyer look like to you? Somebody will pay my price, right? Most of them don't say it's pre-approved or it's any of those things. Somebody will pay my price. Sure. And can I tell you what a good buyer looks like to me, right? Somebody who sold their home and needs to find a new home in 30 days. Somebody who is looking to move from out of town and is going to be looking at a few properties and making a decision, right? That's what a good buyer looks like to me. And I'm not working with anyone who's not fully approved, especially in this market. So explain to them that the same challenges they're having, you are having, and you're addressing those professionally, right? So you're only working with solid qualified buyers. So if those are the buyers that I'm looking for, and you're looking for anyone who pays their price, is there a difference between that? So if you were in this market to that person, if you were looking for a home right now, especially in this climate, this atmosphere, would you be working with a realtor, or would you be running around looking for sale by owners? What's their answer?
Okay.
What's their answer?
You're asking me, sorry.
Yeah, what's their answer? They'd be working with a realtor, right?
Yeah, they'll be working with a realtor, yes.
Right. So if you're not attracting those buyers, who are you attracting?
Exactly. That makes sense.
Everyone else. And that's why you may be frustrated by this process. Can I tell you a little bit what we do? Right. Can I tell you a little bit about what we do to get homes sold? Even in this environment, we still closed around 140 homes last year in my office, last month, even with everything that's going on. So I feel like I can help you. When's a good time for us to talk?
I wish I had someone next to me coaching.
You do. We're here.
That's why you do scripts and role play.
Write this stuff down. It's being recorded. It's being recorded also. Listen back.
I will. I'm going to listen back.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all about knowing your scripts. It's knowing what to say. And remember, every objection that they give you, all right,
Come back with a question,
three
but an
different
understanding question. Got it.
Yeah, come up with 3 different responses to those answers. John Dietz, I love saying this. John Dietz literally wrote the book on scripts. All right, it's you go to Amazon. The book is Real Estate Scripts for Success, written by John Dietz. All right, he has his scripts that he used for 15 years. That he built his little empire based on those scripts. All my scripts I learned are John Dietz's scripts, bold scripts, and learning and practicing them. Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about today is, once we ask those awesome, amazing questions that we're all going to practice, and we're going to rate them, we're going to decide, are they A, B, or C sellers? Are they ready, willing, and able? If they're ready, willing, and able, you need to follow up with them daily until you get that listing appointment. All right, schedule a listing appointment. These people are ready, willing, and able. They're ready to do something right now. I don't care if Corona's out there. I'm still taking listings. I don't care if we're on lockdown. I'm still going to set up a virtual listing appointment. These people are ready, willing, and able. They have a need. They have a need. I have the answer for them. I have the cure for them. Hire a professional. 97% of the homes that are sold in Broward County are sold with a realtor. Okay. 97% of those are sold with a realtor. I'm going to get your home sold. I'm going to price it properly. We're going to get your home market. We're going to get it sold so we can get you to Chicago to be with your family. All right. So ready, willing, and able buyers. Those are people I need to do something right now. Schedule an appointment right away. Speak with them every day. Oh, I can't talk today because my wife is at work. Great. I'll call you tomorrow. All right. I love saying that my calendar fills up very quickly. So let me at least pencil you in. When do you think you and your wife will be available? Let me just pencil you in, and I'll call you the day of, or the morning of, just to confirm. If we need to reschedule from there, reschedule it. But schedule the appointment. All right. If they're ready, willing, and able to do something, but it's going to take a little bit of time, 2 to 3 months. All right. Put them into your database and then speak with them 2 to 3 times a week. Okay. You're not going to follow up with them as often because some things still need to happen. They still need to wait for the school year to finish. Okay. They may be ready, willing, and not able to right now. They may be 2 of those 3. If they are ready, willing, and able, but it's going to take them more than 2 or 3 months, all right, put them into your database and then follow up with them monthly. So
Put them into your database and tag them appropriately.
Yep.
So that you know who these people are. So when you're making a campaign and you're reaching out, you get to identify these people.
Yep.
A's, you know who they are because you're working actively with them. B's, a little bit less. And C's, much less. But ultimately, they all have to be contacted in an efficient manner. And we can't do that until we tag them and get them in our database and get them on smart plans that are appropriate for them.
Yep, absolutely. So A, B, and C buyers know how to qualify them. You qualify them by asking the right questions. All right. You rate them. You know exactly, are they A, B, or C? You put them into your database, learn how to communicate with them. Remember, you're going to talk to your A sellers much differently and following up with them much more aggressively than you would with a C seller. Someone that says they can't do anything till August. Great. And you're not going to let those people go because you know what? Even if they were to say to you, I can't sell for another year. Well, the great news is I'm still going to be selling real estate in a year from now. Okay. So I'm going to put them on my database. I'm going to follow up with them. I'm going to follow up with them monthly until they say, because that 1 year from now might really only be 4 months from now. They just don't know it yet. Okay. So what we're going to do is, I know that this you can have a full 8-hour day just on sellers and seller listings and listing appointments and everything. What we're going to do is on Friday, we're going to finish up the pre-listing package. We're going to finish up talking about the seller listing. So we're going to go ahead and discuss that more on Friday, and also go into a little bit more on command and actually do some hands-on in command. Okay, on Friday. So that will be our doing then. So real quick before we wrap things up, give me 3 good ahas or some things that we learned differently today or things we feel differently about before we wrap up. Give me 3 ahas.
Well, one aha for me is to get the correct answer, ask the right questions. So like that, you know where to go and how to lead your seller or your buyer, just to ask them, just to get to know them, just to see what makes them tick. So ask the right questions so you could get the right answers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ask awesome, powerful questions. Love it. What else?
Also question related before we go to the listing to make sure it's really going to be listing. I learned from you and from Ray just how important it is so we don't waste our time. Again, questions like Griselda said.
Yep. Remember, are they ready, willing, and able? Every single appointment that I leave, I ask myself, are they ready, willing, and able? And they have to be ready, willing, and able for me to continue working with them. If they're ready and willing but not able, if they're ready and able but not willing, or if they're willing and able but not ready, whatever, they have to be all 3 for me to say, I'm going to dedicate 100% of my time to them right now. All right. So excellent. Let me get one more aha and then we'll wrap up for the day.
Hey, John, it's Marcia.
Hey, Marcia, how are you?
Good. For me, it was learning that every objection that I get, follow with a question.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of times that question might just be what's important about that.
Right.
Right. A lot of times that might just be what's important about that. What's important about netting $420,000? What's important about interviewing 15 different realtors before you select the right one, or before you hire me to sell your house?
Right. Yeah. I think in the past I found that I would get an objection and almost freeze. But,
Yeah.
you know, this will allow me to keep the conversation flowing.
Excellent. Love it.
Yeah.
Before everybody starts to disappear here, and I'm sure there's probably one other thing. The team meeting today is 11:15. We're going to have Jason Abrams popping in on our team meeting. One of the most influential guys, always fantastic things to say. You do not want to miss this.
Yeah. And he's starting at 11:15. So log in by 11:15. All right, because that's maxed out at 100 participants. And if you're not one of those 100 participants, you might miss probably one of the best messages of the year. All right. Excellent, guys. I'm gonna have this video posted. I'm gonna have it recorded. It is recorded, and we're gonna have it posted on Facebook and on our YouTube page. Thank you very much, guys. Have a
Thank
great
you,
rest of the
Sean
week.
and
Mike.
Mike.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
See you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank you, Eddie.
Again, same
Your
time,
input was
same bad
awesome.
time, same bad channel.
Same back.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.